Ukrainian forces have announced a major offensive in the country's south, hoping to liberate a key city from Russian occupation. President Zelensky is vowing to retake all Ukrainian land taken by Russia, and this counteroffensive could be a major step toward doing just that. Meanwhile, UN officials are set to inspect the massive nuclear plant caught in the crossfire. Foreign correspondent Tom Burridge has the latest from Ukraine.
A dramatic turnaround, with Ukrainian forces now on the offensive. Their aim to retake land in the south. President Zelensky defiant, vowing to kick the Russians out of all Ukrainian land. Kherson, a regional capital, their top target. Russia took the city in the early days of the war. Video circulating online shows smoke pouring over the city this morning. Ukraine striking targets in Russian-occupied land again and again. But as Ukraine pushes in the south, Russia's response swift and brutal. Russian missiles pummeling a residential district in the port city of Mykolaiv, killing 2 people. Putin's forces also striking the heart of Ukraine's second city, Kharkiv, in the northeast. Overnight there, at least 4 people killed. And amid real fear over the situation at Europe's largest nuclear power plant, this team of UN nuclear experts now on the ground in Ukraine. Their mission to gain access to and inspect the plant in the coming days. A pro-Russian official releasing these images showing a large hole in the roof of one of the buildings at the plant, dangerously close to the nuclear reactors. And in these new satellite images, you can see the damage done to the building, both sides blaming the other for the attacks. The US already calling for a demilitarized zone around the plant, now saying it should be shut down.
And Tom Burridge joins me live from Ukraine for more on this. Tom, can you tell us how significant is this counteroffensive?
Yeah, Mon, I think this is a significant moment. I mean, the Ukrainians have been building up towards this. There's no doubt about it. They've been talking about an offensive in the south to try and retake land that the Russians grabbed in the early days of the war around that key city of Kherson for a long time. They've been using US-supplied rockets to strike key targets, and in particular a bridge, because what's important to know is that Kherson, the city, is divided by a river. And in the short term, Ukraine's game plan is to try and take the territory held by Russian forces to the west. In theory, because they've been hitting the bridges so hard, those Russian forces are cut off from their supply lines. And the Ukrainians are now, as we believe, trying to break through the lines of the Russians. The Ukrainians suggesting within the last 24 hours that they've taken some small parts of territory, possibly villages, but they're also putting out a bit of an information blackout at the moment. In this digital age of social media, they're keen that no videos, no information compromises this operation, and it will take at least days for us to find out the true significance of this and how much success the Ukrainians have had.
Tom, this is in fact a very bold move, and we've learned that Ukraine is using US-supplied weapons. What kind of impact could it have on the trajectory of the war?
Well, look, there's no doubt about it. When the US started supplying these HIMARS, these are rocket systems that can hit key targets like command and control centers, which the Russians use to run their war machine, or ammunition dumps behind enemy lines. This was incredibly significant, and it has begun to turn the tide of the war quite significantly. Weeks ago, we were only talking about the Russian offensive in the east of Ukraine, in the Donbass, where the Russians were slowly but surely taking territory from the Ukrainians. What's happened in the Donbass is really that the Russian offensive has stalled. Now the Ukrainians have the confidence to go on this offensive in the south, but it is an incredibly risky maneuver. The Ukrainians are not guaranteed success. We know the extent of the Russian military. They've had some failures early on in the war, but their firepower is significant. And the Ukrainians are taking a gamble going for this offensive, and it could take a long time. This is not something that's going to happen quickly. The Ukrainians are not going to suddenly break through the Russians' lines and take huge amounts of territory. It's going to take time. It's going to be gradual. There'll be heavy losses on both sides.
Despite how long it may take, the Ukraine says its main goal is to retake that city. So why is Kherson so important to its strategy of taking back Ukrainian territory lost to Russia? Why start there? And how is Putin responding?
Well, look, Kherson is a regional capital. It's symbolic. But I think the one main reason why Ukraine is really focusing attentions on the south right now is because this is newly acquired land by the Russians. Remember, 8 years ago, Russia fomented a war in the east of Ukraine, grabbed a lot of the Donbass back then, and then it worked through propaganda, through subjugating the local population there to really put a control on the population there, which, to be honest, historically was more pro-Russian than in the south. What the Ukrainians know is that the population in the south is more resistant to the Russian occupation. And I think speaking to Ukrainian officials, they believe that they need to retake this territory in the short to medium term. What they fear is if the Russians hold the south for a long period of time, they could increasingly exert their dominance, put pressure on regional officials and put more control on the local population there, and therefore make it less resistant to the Russian occupation. We're also seeing an increase significantly in assassinations, probably by the Ukrainians, but it's all quite sketchy, of key figures working for the Russians in Russian-occupied southern Ukraine. A former Ukrainian MP assassinated, the Russians admitting, within the last 48 hours, and that is significant too.
All right, Tom Burridge in Ukraine, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.